Hey guys, Chris De La Garza here, Capital Title Business Development Rep. Thank you for joining us again today for another episode of Title Talks. We're here today with my buddy Desmond, who we're going to be asking some key point questions on how this gentleman has become so successful in such a short period of time. But again, what we're here today is just to talk about where we're showcasing, successful agents, how they've done it, where they've come from, and how they got there. Really looking forward to getting into introducing you guys to this gentleman today. He's super modest, so you have to focus on the fact that he downplays all of his success substantially. And I can't say that I'm proud to be this man's friend. So Desmond, with that being said, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself just in general?
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate the intro. Appreciate your kind words. I don't downplay anything, No, but I'm Dezmon Metze with RD Realty. I'm one of the team leads over at my brokerage, RD Realty Group. We're right across from the title company here in San Antonio based. We have about 72 agents. Wow. I've been in real estate now for 2 years and a month.
This guy's so good that I thought he'd actually been selling for 4 years. So I'm glad he put that out there because, guys, he's, like I said, super modest. This gentleman's, already done over close to 12 million in the last 12 months as a solo agent. So again, keep rolling, man. But to do 12 million in your first 2 years is just ridiculous in itself. What first attracted you to getting started in real estate? What did you do prior to real estate?
So I used to be a personal trainer over at Lifetime, and I know we discussed that, beforehand too. I used to train my broker and his wife, and I love Lifetime, and my biggest, drive, in my personal standpoint of what I personally think like life is meant to be is just like impacting people.
Right.
In a positive, influential way. There's a lot of, different distinctions of what you want to do or how you want to impact people, but personally just helping is my personal calling, so.
Okay, the service mindset.
Yeah, 100%. So helping people is my biggest mindset. I love the personal training aspect of everything too, but at the end of the day too, I didn't have enough hours in the day to impact as much people as I wanted, right? Again, it being a corporate job, it was kind of restricted in regards of just hours. I basically just helped as much as I possibly could in the time frame that I did. And then after that, my broker was just like, hey, you're really good at, just configuring conversations when we work out and basically just assisting him in different things, let alone just training. Yeah. And he was just like, I think you'd be a good realtor. And then, I'm more of a person who I'll give it a try. But if I try something, I'd rather do it full force instead of just, because it wouldn't make too much sense to me, And then I gave it a try and, I just fell in love just because of the aspect of being a realtor for sure. I think you could have the traits of good communication, good service, good at the job, quote unquote, sales wise. But at the end of the day, what's going to carry a realtor on for decades, years, stuff like that is literally genuinely wanting to help your clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in the very beginning, when he first introduced, the concept of being a realtor, what were the first thoughts that kind of went through your head? Had you ever played around with the idea of real estate prior to him introducing it to you?
Never. To be completely honest, actually, I didn't know anything about real estate.
Wow.
Didn't know anything.
Had you ever owned your own home?
No.
Wow.
Not until I became a realtor, but I didn't even give you an example. I didn't even know what type of loans people get homes for. You know what I mean? I was very completely just clean slated with real estate.
That's incredible. So in the beginning, let's say your first 6 months, I know a lot of realtors always come and ask me, it's how did you really get going? Obviously your broker was there to help you kind of facilitate you figuring it out. What was the transition when you realized, okay, hey, I've got to stop doing personal training because I know how passionate you are about that, just, knowing you from the gym, and you're like, no, real estate's what I want to do 100% of the time. When did you know is this is what I got to do and I want to do this for sure moving forward?
It was more so, I don't think anybody just knows things moving forward, right? I think it's a big importance to have self-confidence and things like that and decision making, but no one has everything figured out. Okay, I knew for a fact that this was going to happen. Yeah. I had the confidence in myself that I was going to do it, right? But it's different from just doing that. But it was more an essence of a leap of faith, right? So it was
Gotcha.
Okay, to be honest with you, I was just okay, I owned a business before, right? Like
Okay.
e-commerce wise. So
Okay.
while I was doing Lifetime, I didn't necessarily like, it wasn't just about the aspect of the money for Lifetime. It was like the impacting of how I was helping my clients.
Right. How
and
you're helping people out.
yeah, right. So once I was comfortable of letting that go and I gave it to one of my really good, one of my best friends too over at Lifetime, all my clients, because I knew they were going to get taken care of. I was just like, okay, cool. I put my 2 weeks in. Then right after that, took the real estate exam and just submerged myself into the industry.
Wow. Never turned around.
Yeah. I still love personal training.
Oh yeah, no, I know you do, man. I know. I see you in the gym all the time. Even when I'm not making it, I see you on social media making sure you're in there. And
Yeah.
if you guys ever get a chance, man, if you see this guy in the gym, definitely pull him aside because he can give you some great pointers on that. But no, I mean, everything that I've seen you've done in your life, you obviously take a great passion into being successful and trying to take it to that next level. You put everything into it that you've got.
And that's one thing that I just personally like to live by, I guess.
Yeah.
And I like to bleed it through. And I train our agents like that, and I train like everybody I talk to like that and stuff too. Is one of my mentors once told me, right? And it really resonated with me. Like one of my favorite things ever. It's just like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Right. Love that.
Firm believer too of whatever field somebody's in or whatever they have going on. Like if you're doing well in that field, you should be doing well in personal life, business goals, personal goals, individual goals, family goals, friendship goals, whatever it is, in my personal opinion, because they're all should elevate at the same time.
Very true. Very true. So with that being said, I love the segments into the next part. What would you say is a big differentiating factor between where you're at right now and where you were as a brand new agent? What would you say is the common denominator that you can recommend to other newer agents that say, hey, do this, this, and this, or make sure you get to this point as fast as you can, and then don't change it? Like, is there a specific niche, or is there a specific brand that you like to push of what you'd say is a differentiator for yourself?
Just like if I had to give advice to a new agent, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah.
I would personally say a lot of people in this industry think it's very easy to start off with, and I think that's a misconception. Like
I
for
agree
sure,
with that.
they'll see all the, the great wins and all crazy people, all these reels, all these $1 million homes and stuff like that, but they don't ever see like the other side of real estate too, where
The hard work part.
It could get stressful if you let it get to you, but at the end of the day, you just got to remind yourself that like your real estate has to be an actual goal for you to sustain. Like it's not like an instant gratification thing. Like
No, by no means.
like of course, like people will see like whatever within the 2 years of what I've done, but it wasn't just because I cut corners or it was because I just skipped from level 1 to level 10, right? I firmly believe like you got to hit all these levels, and it makes you absorb and know and understand the market and understand like what the industry holds. And the biggest thing when you do that correctly, you're not going to miss any steps, but you're also going to grow as a person, not just in the business, but just again, know yourself, what you can do, how stress resilient, I guess you could get. And then also just making sure that whenever you feel like, you're like, oh man, I don't think I could do this. Cause that's the biggest thing for our agents is like, 3-5 months in, they're like, dang, like, I don't think I could, it's tough out here. You know, like it's like real crazy, but with each and every business you own or, entrepreneurship or whatever solo venture you have, it's going to be like that. And as long as you stick it out, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, whether it's the struggling process or the successful approach process, right? You're going to enjoy the journey throughout, and you're just going to be very much so more grateful for, once you hit that step of the goals that you had.
Now, you brought up a really key point in what you just said that I'd really like to highlight for this, because not a lot of brokerages do this, and this is where y'all's brokerage is definitely very different. And I even admitted to you myself that even I was a little complexed with, how does this work and how do y'all spin it? You guys promote with your newer agents, starting with apartment leasing to kind of help get the ramp going and get some money in their pocket, and teach them how to turn that into their database for down the road. Talk to me a little bit about, how you guys came up with that concept and how you guys implement that on a day-to-day basis for newer agents.
Well, you got to understand too, I think it's my broker Rami Diaz, it's super. That was a super intelligent move, and also it looks like very simple and easy to think of, but it's not, right? But at the end of the day, you just got to understand, right? Like people's wants and needs, their problems, their scenarios, things like that, right?
Right.
But statistically, just in the United States, right, it's mainly renting,
Right.
right? So the whole objective of that, right, is just what we do in this industry is service minded, like you said, relationship building and stuff too. But it's not always just like, oh, sell a house, sell a house, sell a house. Like that's not the end goal, right? The end goal is building relationships where you're sustaining their business all throughout the course of however long you know them. But for renting purposes, right, for apartments, we coach and train our agents that way, just because that's how you start your quote unquote pipeline, right? That's how you start relationship building.
See, and that's the part of really that kind of hit me over the head, where it was ingenious in that, because you are getting people before they even think about the idea of buying, and you're starting that relationship at the very beginning versus in the middle.
And you're growing with that person, right? Not necessarily just financially, but just like as a person, right? I have a buddy that 2.5 years ago, right? He graduated college, right? He got an apartment. Super cool. He had a great experience, things like that. As you grow with that person too, obviously he's going to know you're a realtor and things too, but how well you took care of somebody in the beginning too, at the end of the day, it's repetitive business and relationship building of everybody's immediate goal is whoever's renting, not necessarily everybody, but most, but everybody's immediate goal after renting is they want to get a house.
Right.
Right.
So it's the next step in their life cycle. So
100%. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. So Desmond, talk to me a little bit about, everybody loves the acronym SOI, your sphere of influence. Do you work your database any differently today than, let's say, you were in the beginning? Because everybody always is so fearful. And in fact, I've asked this couple of questions now to several successful agents, and I'm always perplexed on the different answers that I get. So I'm very interested in what you have to say. But how do you work your database today versus how you did when you were brand new on the people that you know, love, and trust, and know, love, and trust you? Would you say you worked it exactly the same? Do you approach it the same way, or do you approach it different today than you did in the beginning?
I think that in the beginning of this business, and when you reach a certain point, you got to be very self-aware to understand that what got you to this position, you shouldn't lose sight of it at the end of the day. And what I mean by that is like, and I'll use my example after I give you a scenario, but I've seen a lot of agents, right? They'll either see some money or they'll get really busy now, right? But at that point, they're like, okay, well, I don't even want to deal with all this because it's not worth my time. Right?
Ouch. I've heard that so many times.
100%. And I'm not saying that, okay, there is such a thing as time value, right?
Yes.
But at the end of the day, and this is another, thing that I was touching up on yesterday, how you treat one client is how you treat all of them.
Absolutely.
Right? So you can't forget what got you here, just because in the beginning you're like, oh man, I have nothing. I have all this free time in the world. Like I need to get busy. Right? But since you're busy, you don't just have things fall off, right? You want to make sure that you're nurturing every relationship the exact same. It doesn't matter if it's a apartment rental or a home, Of course, right? A home is going to take more time than an apartment rental, but I'm not going to dictate me treating somebody differently just because it's a rental versus a house, right?
Right.
And that's the, tying it back to your question, right? I think that my whole service orientation that I have with how I, work my sphere of influence is exactly the same. I just obviously tweaked it to the point where the time value is more perfected, right? Because there's some things that I'm better at as you increase in the real estate game, right? I'm not saying like time value is I'm not going to call somebody like, oh, it's not worth my time. Like my time value is perfected because I know the market a lot better. I know my product knowledge a lot more better
than you did in the beginning.
Yeah, right. So it's going to take longer in the beginning because I had to gain all that. But now that I have that, it's just reducing and minimizing my personal time to make sure that I'm still effectively and efficiently taking care of everybody in my sphere of influence, but also still not losing that mindset of what got me there in the first place.
Gotcha. Do you work your whole SOI of everybody you know, or do you have more of a focused, intentional mindset on a smaller number, being time conscious of that? Because I mean, that's the hard part that I hear, especially with top producers like yourself, is their database obviously grows rapidly. And it's easy to give a lot of attention to, let's say, a database of 150 to 300. But when you start getting into those databases that are up over 1,000, that's where it becomes very time challenging and picking, well, where do I spend my time? Is that maybe where you were talking about as being focused in on, that's where the knowledge base comes into play on, being more familiar with what you know about real estate now versus in the beginning? How would you elaborate on that, I guess, is where I'm asking is how, first of all, how big is your database ballpark?
If I had a,
and I'm putting you on the spot. Not everybody knows off the top of your head.
Yeah,
but
I mean, if I had a guess, including with apartments and homes combined, I'd probably say near like anywhere from 500 to 700. Yeah.
Okay, so you're already at that 700 number just inside 2 years. So do you focus on all 700, or do you focus on like 200 to 300, and do you have it bifurcated?
I have everything, and you may call me real crazy, but I'm like very OCD too. So I have everything to where, even for apartments, right? And even for my, people who got into homes and, things like that, and people who moved, I have everything to a T to where their dates are.
Gotcha.
So I just, I touch base on everybody, but not at the same time because it's seasonal, right? So if somebody got an apartment now and their lease ends next year.
Okay, so you're more time sensitive.
Yeah, I know exactly when to reach out and make sure everything's okay and stuff like that, because it's all set up and integrated into a system, and I'm a very big systems guy.
This is why you and I get along very well. I'm a systems guy as well. Yeah. Systems and processes.
Exactly, yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, what does a typical day look like for you, Desmond? A normal day for you. How do you start your day from personal all the way to, business, intertwining those two concepts? Because that's another hot topic, is the balance of personal life with business life. What does a typical business day look like for you?
So just business day, touching base, solely businesses, and it's the same almost every day, weekdays or weekends. And of course I still live life, but as soon as I knock out the gym, I'll either go to all my tours that start off, or in the office, it's interchangeable. If I don't have tours right after that, then I'll go to the office. And then if I
Now, when you say tours, you meaning previewing or clients, or elaborate a little bit on that?
It could be anything. Right now I'm very heavily residential for sure. So when I say tours, it could be, we'll call it showings too on the residential side. But if it's not, showings for actual homes, then it's tours for actual apartments.
Okay.
But for right now, since how the market is, and what I've been just personally doing with my business, it's a lot more showings.
Okay.
Yeah. And then from there, right, then I'll go in the office and set up those, I have meeting times, and I keep a calendar every single day of what I need to do. So I'll knock out all my showings for the morning, clienteles that I have, and then I'll have all my appointments for either, whether it's buyer's consultation, listing appointments, new agent training, one-on-ones with agents, things that, just need to get taken care of admin-wise. And then after all that, I'll do my afternoon showings / tours.
Okay.
And then after that, well, obviously, right, when showings and tours happen, it comes with offers, writing things, stuff like that, right? So that night, I'll catch up on everything admin-wise I didn't get to. And then I'll also write anything I need to do, whether it's listings and, offers and things like that. I mainly do my listings, as weird as it sounds, I'm a creature of habit too, right? But like at night, like at 12 a.m. And that's my time.
Because it's an administrative.
That, and also just, I don't get phone calls from agents.
Right, so you're not getting distracted.
Yeah, so I can focus
completely understand where you're coming from, that being an agent myself in the past. Nothing more frustrating when you're focused on trying to do detail-oriented.
100%.
And your phone won't stop ringing.
100%. And I'm a big advocate too, and I know we're going to get that topic, but I say 12 too, because at the end of the day, it's a balance, I got to spend time.
My next question.
Yeah, I got to spend time with a girlfriend, got to spend time with my mom and sister. They're, the friends, family, and stuff like that. It's super,
So how do you specifically, do you block out time for personal life, or do you let it happen organically?
So I think it's just, and this is just tying in with business too, it's just setting the expectation, right? So everybody, and I just personally think I'm just really internally grateful, to have a very beautiful, a beautiful encouragement group or support system, right? Because at the end of the day, not a lot of people understand that, right? If you're not just setting the expectations, like they know what they're getting into and stuff. So, my other half, right, which is my girlfriend, she understands a lot. She understands I work a lot too, but she also knows that I do have that balance too, where it's just not like just full work mode. It's important to turn it on, but it's more important to turn it off. You know what I mean? So it does happen organically every day, but also I make it very conscious every day that I need to spend time with her. I need to spend time with my family. You know, my mom and sister are my rocks as well. So I need to make sure that I spend time with them. You know, my best friend too, we make time for each other, things like that, because it's important to still balance everything. Because
Absolutely.
you're doing all this for the wrong reasons.
Are you living to work or are you working to live?
Yeah, exactly.
So very, very important. So with that, on a more personal level, what hobbies do you have other than working out?
Hobby wise, it's that, and then also just, you know, just spending time with the people I care about, really. There's really no other like hobbies that I have other than that. And real estate is a hobby, right? It's a work, you know, but
That's a heck of a hobby.
I love talking to it. Yeah, I love talking about it, but
yeah,
just spending time, you know, and I'm not a very picky person, right? I could do, let's say if I do have time, right, with my girlfriend, whatever she wants to do, I'm fine with, right? But she likes going to the gym too, stuff like that. Whatever, you know, my best friend too, he wants to do, I'm fine with. You know, it's usually just decompressing. He's in real estate too, or from my family too, if they want to go eat or do something or take a trip or whatever, I'm not opposed to anything, you know.
Gotcha.
So super cool.
Where do you see this crazy unpredictable market going? I know you probably get asked that 100 times a day, but in your professional opinion, where do you see this real estate market going in the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, I'll give you my, I guess, prediction, but I'll kind of tee it back on it doesn't matter, right? But I personally think that going into everything, it's probably going to shift to a kind of a neutral market. Okay. What I personally think, you know, and I say this just because with new build constructions, you know, offering all these things, with listings still kind of flying, you know, with a lot of buyers still kind of generating because there's a lot of, you know, people moving in the summertime. I think it's, you know, if we're not right now, we're about neutral, you know. But at the end of the day, when people just, clients or agents or not, right? I guess it's important to be aware of what the market change is because you need to adapt. But at the end of the day, a lot of people think of it as in like the market needs to adapt to the people, but like you just need to adapt to the market. Right. And as long as you know that, then you're going to be successful. Like this whole entire, you know, 2 years that I've been in the industry, when people say, oh, it's a heavy buyer's market or, oh, it's a heavy seller's market, it's always been neutral for me. But it's just because setting the expectations is important, because something like you, right? When a client says like, oh, I heard it's a seller's market, so why should I buy now, right? Or I heard it's a buyer's market, so why wouldn't I buy now? Right. And that's not always the case. It's all about like what you said and what the purpose of this, you know, this YouTube and podcast is for, is just setting that education for them, because whatever market it is, it's not about if it's the right time to buy, it's about if it's the right time to buy for that individual, or right time to sell for that individual, whatever it is.
So albeit no matter what's going on in the market, it could be a good time or a bad time based on their personal circumstances is 100%. What you're saying.
And you're always going to get that, right? Let's say, and I'm going to use this, and I hate using this, but like the COVID, you know, pandemic, right? Where interest rates were super low, right? And people were all like, oh, it's a great time to buy, right? Because the interest rates are low, but you also, people don't understand the other side of the spectrum is the other people were like, oh, it's a terrible time to buy. We don't know what's going to go. We don't know what's going to happen. Right.
Depends on what side of the fence you were on.
100%. And then right now, right, let's say we have people too saying, man, the interest rates are so high. This is the wrong time to buy.
Right.
And then on the other side of the spectrum too, oh, this is a great time to buy because maybe they got a promotion. They're ready. They're maybe ready to get that next step.
Or they're not competing against 15 other people that want the house they want.
Exactly. So it's just education.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, man, we've covered quite a bit today. One of the last questions I like to sum up this with is, again, what advice would you give to a brand new agent, just in general, how to be successful as a brand new agent?
Brand new agent wise, I personally think, you know, I mean, as cliche as this sounds, I don't really try to, even to our age, I don't really try to sugarcoat everything, right? I just like to be myself. What you see is what you kind of get. I personally think if you try to mimic yourself into something you're not, like let's say whatever, selling sunset or like superstar realtors where you're only seeing the good, right? Or you're just trying to mimic like, I only want to do $1 million listings, right? I only want to do apartments or whatever it is, right? You just kind of you're going to be successful in how you are as an individual, but at the end of the day too, just being in this industry, you want to make sure that you're just having fun with it. You know, every day is it's a blessing and opportunity of what we get to do, especially just
Absolutely.
Having our own schedule and time. And a lot of people take that for granted to where they become realtors for that freedom, but they have all this time in the world and they don't work. And then they'll say like, why am I not seeing success or anything like that?
Right.
And I like to kind of, I'm glad you're doing this, Chris, too, just because not a lot of people see both sides of the business. And I like to share my wins and losses and just everything too, because, without the losses, you'll see these top tier realtors and successful realtors, right? But they wouldn't be there without those losses. And that's the reason. The reason why top realtors are top realtors is they lost a lot of times.
You learn more from your mistakes than you do your wins.
Yeah, so I would just say soak everything up. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to lose, because at the end of the day, it's just, getting that mental fortitude and then continuing to, excel in the industry.
Well, I appreciate your time today, Desmond. Of
course, always.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you, if they're looking to buy or sell a house, what's the best way to get a hold of you, my man?
Instagram handle, it's Desmond, DEZMON _realtor, REALTOR. And then, shoot me a text or give me a call at 815-614-8515.
Well, again, I appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out with us today. Anything that you like or dislike, don't be afraid to leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit up that like button, guys. Appreciate y'all's time. Y'all have a good one.